Morning, everybody. Welcome to some rental training. We won't be long today, I don't suspect, but I tend to ramble, so maybe we will. But let's have a look. Okay, so we're talking about rentals, and I heard a comment from a rental agent yesterday that the market was a problem and he couldn't do rentals, and they were battling. And when I look at our rental figures, it's just not true. So something's going on in this man's head that's not related to real reality, because it's not like that. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is I want to share my screen and I want to talk to you guys about what a rental cycle is. Who's heard of the 18-year rental cycle? Anybody? What? Michael Beckley steps up. Well done, Michael. Yes, the 18-year rental cycle is a theory that says that the property cycle goes in 18-year cycles. So it goes from a low to a high, and it goes back down to a low for 18 years in an 18-year period. And if you don't believe me, let's have a little look at the data that I use to support my theory, and we can all see that. Thumbs up if you can. Yes, you can, because I'm getting an expert at sharing screens. So here's the data that supports the 18-year rental cycle. And it goes back 200 years. And yes, this is in the UK or the Western market, but we correlate directly with them. So if the UK or America's property market crashes, we crash. If they grow, we grow. We just slightly lag behind them. We are not an independent market. So South Africa doesn't do what it likes. It does nothing by itself. Okay. So that's the first thing. So if you look at this thing, the market from 1795, they started tracking this. And this is the difference between a sophisticated economy and a South African economy, where we don't have the data on police statistics, on COVID, on anything. We've got no data. We know nothing. And these guys have been going back for 200 years. And you can see that these things are almost as if it was written, drawn by somebody trying to prove a point. But this is actual data. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we need not panic, because in the 200-year cycle, we've had war. We've had the First World, Second World. We've had the Cold War. We've had governments in Europe. We've had the European Union becoming the European Union. We've had all of these things happening, yet this property cycle is almost as if it's as regular as a metronome. Okay, so I'm telling you this because it should give you comfort. And it's important for people who tell me that, the doom and gloom part of our market. I don't see doom and gloom. I see a very fearful world and a lot of people doing stupid stuff, the governments in particular. But it looks like to me that we are on the right track. So what does this mean? It means that the property cycle crashed in 2008. So let's have a look. In 2008, the market crashed. I'm sure you're all aware of that. Who was in property when it crashed in 2008? It's like a lot of fun, eh? Okay, I'll keep telling people that I didn't sell a house for 18 months from 2008. It's just like the world exploded. Okay, we are nowhere near that now. Our sales are up, and our sales are records, and our rentals are actually at a level in our business more than double what it was last year. So we are growing. So that can be just because we've got more agents in rentals, but I don't think so, because even agents in rentals are doing slightly better. Okay, so if this is true, if 2008 was the crash, then halfway between the crash and now is that means that in 2008 we were at the bottom, and we are going through the other way around. We've crashed, and now we're halfway through the cycle. So if you think about it, in 2020, look at this red arrow. That is the bottom of the cycle. Without COVID, we should be going into the next part of the cycle, which is an upward trajectory. So property is getting better for the next part of the 9-year cycle, the 18-year cycle. So we've been through the bad part, we're going out of the good part. So now, but COVID is a little bit of a anomaly, because obviously COVID has made a difference. Sorry, I'm just letting people in. we are, COVID has made a difference, but what it has, my estimation of COVID is that it's changed many things, but as much as it's changed, things are staying the same. Because yes, people, if you own commercial property, if you owned the Sino Steel Towers in Sandton, I would be very nervous if I was you, because you better turn that into something. I don't know what you're going to turn it. I'll turn it into a zoo or something like that, because I don't think you're going to get tenants to pay you big bucks to work from there as an office space. But if you own a house or a flat or a residential property, that market's not collapsing at all. It's changing. And the sales guys will tell you it's quite busy. So people are coming out of Sandton from where they work, and they're working in their houses. They find the house is too small. They want to upgrade. They want a bigger house. They want to change. They need an office. So there's a lot of activity in the market. Okay, so that's where we are. So let's just have a look at this. Let's just have a look at this, the cycle in detail. So this is where we are. So on the left-hand side, the land prices go up over the cycle, or they go down. They can only do two things, or I suppose they can drift sideways. But we are in 2026. That's the top of our cycle. We are going into a growth phase. Okay, and you can see where we are now. And what's interesting is in these mid-cycles, they've got something called the mid-cycle dip. And look at it. Every mid-cycle, there's like a hiccup. 1, 2, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Everything is like a freaking heartbeat, this. You can predict this. So there's a mid-cycle dip. Now, our mid-cycle dip is coming right when COVID's happening. It's freakishly that it just correlates like this. Okay, so the mid-cycle dip means that there's something going on in the market that we don't understand. But nevertheless, we don't worry about that. We just know that we are going into a growth phase. Now, somebody's going to be sitting and saying, Anton, are you off your head? How can we have a growth phase in the middle of the COVID world? Well, I can show you. There's something in this bottom right-hand corner here. $2 trillion in stimulus. The thing that makes a market climb out of a hole is stimulus. Now, $2 trillion, that's only America. The UE has got a 1.8 trillion euro stimulus package. That's only two. Not talking about China, the second biggest or the biggest economy in the world, depending on how you measure it. And I'm not even talking about the rest of the developing world. So just two of the biggest economies have got almost a $4 trillion stimulus, well, $2 and 2 in euros stimulus package. Okay. Now, if you don't know how much a trillion is, that's what a trillion looks like. It's a 1 with a million, 1, 3 noughts, 3 noughts, another 3 noughts, and another 3 noughts. $1 trillion is more like, there's more stars, there are more dollars in that there are stars that you can see in the sky at night. This is the number is astronomical. So what's going to happen, and this is a fact like a cow, what's going to happen is this money in the market is going to cause our economies to grow fast and to correct quickly. So we better be on top of our game, because there's going to be exponential growth. And why do I think that? Well, I'm not clever. I listen to other people talk, and I think that the difference is, what my estimation is, that the difference between now and a world war, which is when the big problems come. Remember, the COVID is being compared to a war. COVID is being compared to a war by people who have never been in a war and who are politicians. They have no clue, no concept of what a war is. When they had the firebombing of Dresden, the Allies bombed Dresden in Germany for about, I think it was 40 days, day and night. There was nothing left of Dresden. So the industrial heart of Germany was gone. Nothing, rubble. Now, to come back from that, you have to rebuild factories. You have to find people to man these factories. We don't have to do that. There is no firebombing of our industrial sector. It's been politically bombed. So there is still good growth. There is still ability. So the switch can be turned on immediately if we just choose to do it. So $1 trillion is a lot of stimulus, man. So okay, so back to the cycle. The cycle starts with low prices and fear. Low prices and fear means that the people who are buyers don't want to buy, because an investor's not going to invest if he can't get his rental. It's good for tenants. So in a low price market, you can find tenants, but you don't need tenants because the prices are so low that anybody can buy as well. But then they become the slight rise. And as the rise goes up, the tenancy becomes an issue. So you guys in the rental game have now got something to do. Why? Because in the slow rise, the price of properties starts going up, as with the price of rentals. Now people who are on marginal can't afford to buy anymore, and the demand for rental goes up. Okay, when there's a boom, then everybody climbs into the market. This is where we've been through this. The guys that have been in the property market for a while have been through these booms where everybody's an investor. You meet like a 20-year-old and his girlfriend. What are you doing here? No, I'm just an investment property. I want to buy it for investment. I don't even know why they're saying the words investment. That's not an investment. It's just, anyway, it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. So prices are rising. You can't keep up with sales. You're typically selling for higher prices than you even listed. And the demand for rentals there. You can fill it. You can sell it with a tenant, without a tenant. It's easy, easy, easy. And at that point, the market becomes completely overheated and somebody pulls out and everything crashes. Now, remember that all of this is not real. All of this is going on in our heads. If you want to get out of an economy, do you know how the Americans got out of the 2008 market crash? One thing happened. On one Wednesday morning in Colorado, some American woman got up and said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this shit. Don't say those words. Sick and tired of this. I'm going to go and buy something on my credit card. And all of the Americans suddenly decided that, and they all started spending, because spending is how you get out of the slump. And the spend, the mind change was that it's a good market, we're going to make it good. And the American economy kicked, and the whole world follows, just because it's a sentiment. It's just the way we think about it. Because it's not real. I mean, these money numbers are all nonsense. There's nowhere in the world that's got $1 trillion in a big pile. I mean, you couldn't you'd have to get, you fill up Lesotho with it. Okay. So we know what the property cycle is. We know what the pattern is. And by my estimation and the estimation of the 200 years with the data is that we are now poised for a boom. If we're poised for the boom, what is structurally stopping us making money? Nothing. Why? Because all the infrastructure is still here. We haven't been firebombed. All of the houses are still there. All of the tenants are still there. People are still being born. Our growth rate hasn't stopped. The economy is still active. Okay, and if you listen to the news cycles, it appears to me that the South African economy is actually recovering a lot quicker than we expected. Okay, so there is a lot of good news, and obviously there's a lot of bad news, and there's a lot of bad news to come. But the bad news to come doesn't stop us making money. So don't get sucked into this negative thing. Just think about it. If the whole of SAB Miller disappeared tomorrow, and 6,000 workers lost their jobs, what would it do for you as a rental agent? It would make you busier. Why? Because if half of those people are tenants, they would have to move out. If half of them aren't tenants, but the owners, perhaps they have to sell their house and become tenants. So the property market is something that is very, very resilient to these kind of changes. It actually is impervious to it. And change is the one thing that can make you money. So when the market is changing fast and the pressure's on, you need to get up and get to work, because it's you that is stopping the turnover. It's not the market. And especially in this market. I know that rentals, there's a lot on the market now. And I've said it before, over 25,000 Rand that you're going to battle. But that doesn't stop you making rentals. All you have to do is divert your listings. Get less listings. I mean, it's easy. It's not hard. If you've got rental stock and you're established in an area, I mean not rental stock, if you're a sales agent and you're established in Saxon World and you've got 5 listings of 10 million Rand each, you've got a big problem, man, because you can't just suddenly make them cheaper. And you can't just move out of your area. It takes you long to move out. Now, rentals are fantastic, and I love rentals. Why? Because you're agile. You can rent anywhere. We've always been able to. And agile rental agents get around a lot. Okay, we are renting all over the place. It's very seldom that a rental agent is confined to one specific area. It happens a lot, but it's not typical in my mind. In my mind, rental agents get out a lot. They will take a rental anywhere. Okay, so it's easier for us to adapt than for a sales agent who's been established and entrenched. If you work Parkhurst and you've been there for 30 years as a sales agent, man, you are going to suffer to get into a cheaper market. Okay, rentals is not like that. A rental's a rental. Easy, eh? This is all good. So here are the facts of life for you. Okay. So the first fact is that tenants become buyers. So if you're a rental agent and you want to boost your income, keep in touch with your tenants. You've got to love your tenants. Okay. You've got to talk to them often. And you should be spending, when we talk about canvassing to the sales guys, we're saying do cold calls. And I want you to phone 100 people a day to get listings so that you can make sales. And the sales cycle is long, man. The sales cycle is like in South Africa is about 7 years on average that a person keeps their house in South Africa before they sell. So you make friends with a buyer or a seller, you basically got to wait 7 years for that guy to do something, unless death, divorce, departure, all of those things happen. So it's a long game. Rentals, man, 1 year. You can easily stay in touch with somebody for 1 year. So instead of phoning 100 people a day for rentals, why don't you make 50 of them your current tenants? Hello, Bob. I'll put you into your townhouse. How are you going? Are you still loving it? Easy. Why? Because you got the relationship. It's not cold calling anymore. Hey, Cully, I hope the landlord sorted out that front door. Remember, we had a problem with it. Okay. So when you put a tenant in, the first thing you got to do is write down something about the tenant. Tenant's got a broken foot. Tenant's mother-in-law is shouting at him, and he said his mother-in-law is a real witch. Okay. You phone him in 6 months' time. Hey, Cully, how's your mother-in-law? You told me she was crazy last time. Has she got better or worse? Hey? Do you want to go and live with her? No. Do you want to move out? What do you want to do? So what I'm saying is that a 7-year sales cycle for sales is a much more difficult proposition than for you guys as rental guys. You can talk to your tenants all the time. And not only can you talk to your tenants, so if you've only got 10 clients, you can talk to them once a year, 10 rental guys. But remember, the 10 clients have got 10 landlords. Now, landlords become sellers, okay? Because landlords get sick of tenants and tenants get sick of landlords, and it's fantastic. So, and when that happens, they switch and they become buyers and sellers. And this is where you can turn your month's worth of rental income into one sale. And you guys are all able to do sales. Why? Because that's what you do. You're an agent. In South Africa, we're not confined to exactly what we do. And there's no reason why you can't do a sale. You phone me, you phone Linda and say, Linda, my landlord wants to sell. I'm a bit unsure. We know what the price is already because we've got such sophisticated technology. Pricing a house is like falling off a log. It's so easy. The landlord will tell you what it sells. You got the photographs. You know everything about it. You list it. You take the people there as if it's a rental. You show them the place and they say, do you want to put in an offer? Do you want to put in an offer to rent or do you want to put in an offer to purchase? You fill in the thing and you get paid 100,000 Rand. Like, duh. Okay, so landlords become sellers, tenants become buyers, and know this is a fact like a car. 10% of all properties are for sale. Now, I don't know where that number comes from. This is a number I've had in my head for 20 years. And I think it comes from when I managed a big sectional title unit. I had a lot of those units. And at some, I used to have to give clearance certificates. And we were doing clearance certificates to the tune of about 10% of the whole thing we were managing. And that tells me that 10% of them are selling. It's data, it's factual. So I know that 10% will sell. So if you just look around you and you see something for rent in a block, you know that something is for sale too. And rentals and sales, they work hand in hand. There's a lot of, I don't know what the proportion is. I don't know if 10% of properties are for rent, but I know they're for sale. And rental seems to be like a more popular thing, and I think it'll be more than that. Why? Because rentals are a shorter cycle. Okay. So remember that your life cycle in a rental is much shorter. So you need to keep in touch with the tenant and the owner. The more you keep in touch with them, the more chance of you've got of that landlord saying, you know what, I'm so sick and tired of this unit. Please just sell it. And it's fantastic. You're right there. So listen, I can sell it for you. No problem. You got the relationship. You understand the building. Take away his pain. And he's a long-standing client. Do it. The other way around is that tenants are under pressure from work, or they suddenly decided, and you should be planting the seed in his head. Listen, you're paying 12,000 Rand a month there for this property. Do you know that you can buy one for 10,000 Rand a month? Because the one next door for sale for R1 million, R1 million is only 10 grand a month. If you bought one, you would save yourself 2,000 Rand a month. Now, like, what kind of tenant's going to say no? If he's a good tenant and he's got a job, and he's paying 12,000 Rand a month, that means he qualifies to buy. Why? Because you've just qualified him. You qualified him by putting him into the property. If he can afford to rent, you theoretically can afford to buy. Okay, now this is obviously assuming that he hasn't got like judgments or other nonsense going on, which is obviously possible. You know, that is a real, that's your part of your job. You need to find that out. Okay. So let's see if I've got another slide. I haven't. Okay, So it's very simple. My story today is only we're in a cycle. I think we're going into a boom cycle. Nobody cares if you don't work, that last line. Going hungry is your choice. And I seriously mean this. If you're not making money in the current market, it means you're not doing something. It's not the market. I'm sorry to break it to you. The sales guys are doing turnovers like we haven't seen before, and good rental agents are doing rentals, proper rentals, and they're making money. If you're not doing it right, you need to talk to us, ask questions, and we may even have an answer. Obviously, we may not. So decide if you want to make some money out of rentals or not. Talk to your landlords. And if I were you, I would phone all of my tenants that I've dealt with in the last year today and all of my landlords tomorrow and discuss this with them. Okay, we're going into a boom. We think prices are going to rise. And the landlord's going to say, oh, groovy, groovy. Well, it's not so groovy because you know what's going to happen? You're going to lose tenants. Because as the prices rise, the rentals goes up and the tenants are going to go down. So you could find your place standing empty. So if there's a marginal call and you're not sure about it, or you don't like the area, or there's something that's irritating you, this is a very good time to sell. Okay. And the same for tenants. Guys, the interest rate's not going to stay this low for long. It's probably only going to be like this for another year or so. Let's say 2 years, probably. But we don't tell them that. We don't know. So let's say for another year. You've got about a year to get your life together. Why don't you buy the place next door? You like the complex. It's R1 million. You're paying 12. You can get it for 10,000 Rand a month. It's an absolute no-brainer. Why are you paying your landlord? Then you get a sale and you replace the tenant. Boom, boom. So easy. Okay. The only other thing I was wanting to talk to you about is I was talking about active tenants and active landlords that you're dealing with. Expired listings and old landlords. I can tell you now, we do not follow up properly on our placements. So what we do is we place a tenant, we take the money, and we never talk about them again. And sometimes they are not all of us, but there are many of us. So what you should do and what you can do is you can go back and find all of the places you've rented in the last 5 years. And if I were you, I would phone the landlord and I would phone the tenant going back that long. Why? Because property owners own their place for an average of 7 years, and rental investors probably own their places for longer because they're investments. They're not going to flip them easily. Once you've got a rental book, you typically keep it. So I would phone those landlords, and you can say, it's so easy to get back into their life. You can just say, hello, Mr. Smith, it's Anton here from property.coza. You'll remember me from about 5 years ago when I rented out your Dijon townhouse. I was with Seif then, or I was new in the industry then. How are you going? I'm now with Property Coza. We've got 80 agents. We work in Randburg. I'm just touching base. Listen, have you got a tenant? What are you doing with your property? Do you want to sell it? What's happening? What do you think the market's doing? And you just start talking to the guy. And it's not a cold call because he knows you. He'll remember you. And you'll say, yeah, you're the guy that sold me down the road and the tenant didn't pay. And I said, well, now I'm better at my job now. I've learned something. Thank you for teaching me. Now I'm even better. And I'll do the next one for half price for you because I let you down that time. Doesn't matter what you say. Just say it. Okay, so please, you need to go back to your tenants and remember that which one is it? PIA, Consumer Protection Act. I don't know. One of the Consumer Protection Act says that we have to alert the tenant 60 days. I think it's 60 days, 2 months before the end of their lease to give them notice that the lease is ending and to give them options. Now, that's an obligation of law. So I don't know if you guys do that, but you better be doing it, because if you don't do it, you can get yourself into trouble. And if the tenant leaves or doesn't leave or something goes wrong, they're going to say, but I wasn't notified in terms of the Consumer Protection Act. And that's your problem because you're the agent. Okay. So if you're acting for the landlord, if it's managed, or if it's a managed lease, then you need to attend to that. But what I would do is I would go back to all of my old leases and I'd go back as far as I can. And I would speak to landlords and speak to tenants. The more people you are talking to every day, the better your life's going to be. Now, remember, and I had a very good question from Malalo the other day saying, what do I do when Poppy comes in and we can't do cold calls? And the only thing that came to my mind is that I've never done cold calls in my whole life. And I'm very proud to tell you that I won the Century 21 Listing Agent of the Year, the most listings in the whole country without making a cold call. Now, you better find a way to do that. And one of the ways I did it was talking to rentals. And it only dawned on me the other day. How do you do this? Because I speak to the buyers, I speak to the landlords and the tenants of the properties I was managing. So it was easy to list. It's easy to list if you've got 30 or 40 rentals that you've done over 2 years, or 50 over 3 years. Over 3 years, you could have done 100 rentals. That's 200 people that you can talk to. Every one of those people, if they're not dead, have to live somewhere, or trying to make money out of their property, or trying to leverage it, or trying to buy up, buy down. They're trying to do something. It's your job to find them and to keep talking to them. This one-hit wonder stuff is pointless. It's absolutely futile. Do a rental, never talk to the guy again. I don't know why it happens. It's absolutely futile. Okay, so gird your loins, put on your best smiley face, and phone Kali van Tonder, the landlord from hell who gave you such trouble. Because I can tell you what, those guys will remember you, and even if they were cross with you at the time, you still placed the tenant, they still got paid. And if they didn't, maybe they would, I don't know. I would make the call anyway. Get shot at it again. Yeah. Any questions? It's so easy. It's such a nice job. Phone all your old friends, guys. Right. No questions, thank you. I'll send you this, the facts of life, and have a nice day. Go and do some rentals.
Thank you, Anton.